Our selection is all through the blood. In shady green pastures, so rich and so sweet, Yah leads, He leads His dear children all along. Oh yes, He does. Now sometimes on the mountaintop, in the darkness of night, Yah leads, He leads, He leads His dear children all along. In shady green pastures, so rich and so sweet, Yah leads, He leads His dear children all along. Oh yes, He does. Now sometimes on the mountaintop, in the darkness of night, Yah leads, He leads, He leads His dear children all along. Some through the water, some through the water, some through the flood, some through the flood, some through the fire, some through the fire, all through the blood, all through the blood. Some through great sorrow, Yah gives us song, Yah gives us song. In the night season, in the night season, and all of the day long. Some through the water, some through the water, some through the flood, some through the flood, some through the fire, some through the fire, all through the blood, all through the blood. Some through great sorrow, Yah gives us song, Yah gives us song. In the night season, 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 Yah will make a way out of no way. In your night season, in your night season, and all of the days long.
The oracles of the UCI. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua HaMashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you're sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear, than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth. Therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. As we get closer and closer to the redemption of the children of Israel, we start to understand that just like there's going to be a purging out of the children of Israel that are not quite having their hearts focused toward Yahweh, there has to be some purging out of our hearts, the ones who are making an attempt to be the chosen of Israel. There are some things that has to be taken out of there, and those things create roots of bitterness within inside of us, and they end up causing us, ultimately, if we don't get control of it, it will cause us to lose our salvation. But let's begin today's sermon in Deuteronomy chapter 29, and we're going to start that at verse 1. Deuteronomy 29, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
These are the words of the covenant which Yahweh commanded Moshe to make with the children of Israel in the land of Moab, beside the covenant which he made with them in Horeb. And Moshe called unto all Israel and said unto them, You have seen all that Yahweh did before your eyes in the land of Egypt unto Pharaoh, and unto all his servants, and unto all his land. The great temptations which your eyes have seen, the signs, and those great miracles. Yet Yahweh has not given you an heart to perceive, and eyes to see, and ears to hear unto this day.
So, pause for a second. You can see, but not see. You can hear, but can't hear. Why do you think that some people come to Sabbath class and they hear one thing, and somebody else heard something altogether different? Yahweh said he did it. They all came before him and saw all these miracles and still didn't understand the miracles that they saw. And they swore something was wrong or something wasn't there, and everything was there. They just couldn't receive it. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And I have led you 40 years in the wilderness. Your clothes are not waxing old upon you, and your shoe is not waxing old upon your foot.
Now, he would have to even mention that for them to even notice it. What happens is, when we are so busy worrying about everything else, we don't worry about the things that we already got. Because we're too busy trying to focus on something else that we're trying to get. So, we're not paying attention to. There ain't nothing wrong. Don't you understand that these shoes should have been like completely worn down by now? We don't even consider that part as a blessing. So then that gets thrown to the back because we're worrying about something new now. So what Yahweh has to do is get your attention. Let me show you the blessing that you already have. Go ahead.
You have not eaten bread, neither have you drunk wine or strong drink, that you might know that I am Yahweh your Elohim. And when you came on to this place, Sihon the king of Heshbon and Og the king of Bashan came out against us unto battle, and we smote them. And we took their land, and gave it for an inheritance unto the Reubenites, and to the Gadites, and to the half tribe of Manasseh. Keep therefore the words of this covenant, and do them, that you may prosper in all that you do.
Right, and it's little things like this that help you when you get all the way to the end of the book. You notice that it says the half tribe of Manasseh. See, then when you get into Revelations and you start reading, and they've left out a tribe because they put Manasseh as a whole tribe. This takes care of the business. That's why you just can't just go off, jump, and read something, and then take it and run and go helter-skelter with it. Here is your foundation, half tribe of Manasseh. You get to Revelations, when they start reading the 12 tribes, somebody get left off. Why? Because they do not count Manasseh as a half. Go ahead.
You stand this day, all of you, before Yahweh your Elohim, your captains of your tribes, your elders, and your officers, with all the men of Israel, your little ones, your wives, and your stranger that is in your camp.
You're a stranger. In the beginning, we still have strangers that is within our camp. And they are accepted amongst us. So who are these people who keep telling us that only Israel is going to be saved? That wasn't even true in the beginning. How is it going to be true now? He had strangers before he even opened the door unto the Gentiles. Go ahead.
From the hewer of your wood unto the drawer of your water, that you should enter into the covenant with Yahweh your Elohim. Verse 12, that you should enter into covenant with Yahweh your Elohim, and into his oath which Yahweh your Elohim makes with you this day, that you may establish you today for a people unto himself, and that he may be unto you a Elohim, as he has said unto you, and as he has sworn unto your fathers, to Abraham, to Esaac, and to Jacob. Neither with you only do I make this covenant and this oath, but with him that stands here with us this day before Yahweh Elohim, and also with him that is not here with us this day. For you know how we have dwelt in the land of Egypt, and how we came through the nations which you passed by, and you have been there, and you have seen their abominations and their idols, wood and stone, silver and gold, which were among them. Lest there should be among you man or woman or family or tribe whose heart turns away this day from Yahweh your Elohim to go and serve the gods of these nations. Lest there should be among you a root that bears gall and wormwood.
Right. That's a root of bitterness that makes us want to even entertain the things of the other nations. And we don't even know that that's what that is. It's when you talk about a root that bears gall and wormwood, absolute bitterness. It is bitterness that draws us to the things of the other nations. Because what it's going to do, what does it say? You can't serve two gods. So sooner or later, you're going to have to make a decision whether or not you're going to deal with the things of Yahweh our Elohim, or whether you're going to deal with the things of those other gods. And some way, something is going to cause a problem. Because sooner or later, you're going to run into a crossroad where you're going to have to decide whether or not you're going to keep the things of Yahweh, or you're going to keep the things of this God that you're entertaining. And they won't come at us like it's a God. They will come at us like it's just the fun things of somebody else's custom, you know. It's just an entertaining day is what it is. Go ahead.
And it come to pass, when he hears the words of this curse, that he bless himself in his heart, saying, I shall have peace, though I walk in the imagination of mine heart, to add drunkenness to thirst. Yahweh will not spare him, but then the anger of Yahweh and his jealousy shall smoke against that man, and all the curses that are written in this book shall lie upon him.
Right. We see what's happening unto everybody else that does a certain thing. But our arrogance tells us that we can do it and ain't nothing going to happen to us. Go ahead.
And Yahweh shall blot out his name from under heaven. And Yahweh shall separate him unto evil out of all the tribes of Israel, according to all the curses of the covenant that are written in this book of the law. So that the generation to come of your children that shall rise up after you, and the stranger that shall come from a far land, shall say, when they see the plagues of that land, and the sickness which Yahweh has laid upon it, and that the whole land thereof is brimstone, and salt, and burning, that it is not sown, nor beareth, nor any grass grows therein, like the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim, which Yahweh overthrew in his anger and in his wrath.
Right. But people want to tell us that God is love and that he does not have any anger. Those people are going to be extremely surprised when Yahshua returns the second time. They didn't understand the anger the first time, and they're not going to understand the anger the second time. So they walking around with flowers in their hand, and he got war equipment. Go ahead.
Even all nations shall say, wherefore hath Yahweh done thus unto this land? What meaneth the heat of this great anger? Then men shall say, because they have forsaken the covenant of Yahweh Elohim of their fathers, which he made with them when he brought them forth out of the land of Egypt. For they went and served other gods, and worshipped them, gods whom they knew not, and whom he had not given unto them. And the anger of Yahweh was kindled against this land, to bring upon it all the curses that are written in this book. And Yahweh rooted them out of their land in anger, and in wrath, and in great indignation, and cast them into another land, as it is this day. The secret things belong unto Yahweh our Elohim, but those things which are revealed belong unto us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law.
Right. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 12. Yahweh our Elohim gave us this great and righteous law as we were getting ready to enter into his land. This gave us the opportunity of being able to keep and stay in this land in righteousness. That was the reason the law was given unto us. There was no reason to give law to a bunch of servants serving in Pharaoh's land. There was nothing we could have done with that law. But this law gave us an opportunity to keep the land, and it was very straightforward. Follow the law, keep the land. Don't follow the law, lose the land. Real easy. Yet we are still in captivity, and we have roots of bitterness against his law. So that means there's a part of us that want to stay captive because we've gotten accustomed to being captive. See, there's responsibility given to free men. Captives don't have responsibility. See, the man in jail moved by the bells. When they blow the bell, time for you to get up. They blow the next bell, it's time for you to eat. When they blow the next bell, it's time for you to stop eating. Then they blow the next bell, it's time for you to go out on the yard. They blow the next bell, it's time for you to come out from the yard. You don't have no responsibilities. You don't have to make any decisions. All the decisions are made for captives. Free people have to make decisions. And he gave you something to help you make your decisions by. Go ahead.
You know, it's funny that you say that because, you know, we have the mentality that we're free here, but you say you make certain decisions, you see that it will be corrected for you.
Yes.
So you're not truly free.
Man, we don't even own the cars we drive. We don't own nothing. We don't even understand this system. If you own the car, how is it if you leave it on the highway and you don't go get it, they can go get the car and sell it to somebody else. And they'll have legal paperwork from the state, yet nobody came and talked to you. How the hell you do that? I thought it was my stuff. Right. We work all day and have no idea. We don't even own the stuff that's supposed to be ours. And we'll sit there. We in the land of the free. You pay for a car every month, and somebody can take it like this. Mess around, both of y'all got a title. Well, I got a title too. Well, what the date on yours? How you get a title? Who gave you a title? They gave me a title. What? Who is the state? Apparently, they who must own the car, because they wrote another one. And they didn't ask you how you felt about it. And whoever got the last title overrides all the other titles. You got one in your hand, take it to court. Tell them I got a title. The other people say, so do I. They say, all right, well, let me look at the date. Oh, here's the newest. You need to go home. No, but I paid for the car. Did you leave it on the highway? Well, where it did break down. Where's his now? This place is wicked in ways that we don't even understand yet. Go ahead, brother.
Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 1. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Yahshua, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of Elohim. For consider him that endures such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest you be wearied and faint in your minds.
At least we think our problems are some serious problems. See, we think when we go through something, you know, our problems are the heaviest. Ain't none of us had to suffer unto death. We ain't went through them kind of problems. And sometimes you think you got some problem. What Yahweh have to do is take you down the street and around the corner, and you see some of their problem, and then you go back and say, you know what, give me my problem back. I thought my problem was a serious problem until I saw theirs. Now you want to sing about your problem because you realize, oh, it could have been a much bigger problem than what you have now. Go ahead.
You have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin, and you have forgotten the exhortation which speaks unto you as unto children. My son, despise not you the chastening of the Adonai, nor faint when you are rebuked of him. For whom the Adonai loves, he chastens, and scourges every son whom he receives. If you endure chastening, Elohim deals with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if you be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are you bastards and not sons. Furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh, which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live?
And you have to pay attention to this word reverence. Furthermore, we've had fathers of our flesh, which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. There was still respect and honor and all of those things there. Shall we not much rather be in subject unto the Father of spirits and live? Go ahead.
For they verily for a few days chastened us after their own pleasure, but he for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness.
Right. If Yahweh keeps allowing us to enter into the same thing and do the same thing, then there is no profit for us, because we are starting to get comfortable in that line of thing. So it is for our own profit that he then chastises us, so that we will step away from that thing. That's for your good, not his. He doesn't get any joy out of punishing you. He gets a joy out of you changing the way in which you're dealing with things. That's where his joy comes from. Go ahead.
Now no chastening for the present seems to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. Wherefore lift up the hands which hang down, and the feeble knees, and make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way, but let it rather be healed. Follow peace with all men, and holiness, without which no man shall see the Adonai.
Follow peace with all men. Now, we're going to get a little bit deeper into that as we go further, because some people will not always allow you to have peace with them, because their root of bitterness is so strong. You're not going to have any peace with them unless you do everything the way that they want to do it. And that's the problem, because we got a greater rule maker that is over us, and we can't allow anything that's going to be implemented over Yahweh's law. Go ahead.
Looking diligently, lest any man fail of the grace of Elohim, lest any root of bitterness spring up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled.
Right. Sometimes there are roots of bitterness that doesn't have anything to do with you per se. There are roots of bitterness that may be in people for things that they had happen to them long time ago. Yet you are being made subject unto those former roots of bitterness. And all of those things have to be dealt with, because anything that causes Yahweh not to have the place that he's supposed to have in our hearts, he's either going to get rid of it or he's going to get rid of us. It's real simple. He says he's able to raise up stones to praise him. He don't need us. He got beasts that sit around the throne and say, holy, holy, holy all day. He don't need you for that. Go ahead.
Lest there be any fornicator or profane person, as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For you know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears.
Mm-hmm.
For you are not come onto the mount that might be touched, and that burned with fire, nor onto blackness, and darkness, and tempest, and the sound of a trumpet, and the voice of words, which voice they that heard entreated that the word should not be spoken to them any more. For they could not endure that which was commanded, and if so much as a beast touch the mountain, it shall be stoned or thrust through with a dart.
Anything that touches Yahweh's seat has to die. It is the same situation that happened with the ark. When the brother touched it, he had to die. It wasn't any feelings involved. It wasn't any anger involved. Whatever touched it had to be holy on a different level. They put the ark on a cart, and it shouldn't have been on the cart. The cart shook. The brother tried to touch it to keep it from falling over. Angel of Yahweh slew him right there. This wasn't a feeling thing. It was a rule thing. Go ahead.
And so terrible was the sight that Moshe said, I exceedingly fear and quake. But you are not come unto Mount Zion, and unto the city of the living Elohim, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to an innumerable company of angels, to the general assembly and church of the firstborn, which are written in heaven, and to Elohim the judge of all, and to the spirits of just men made perfect, and to Yahshua the mediator of the new covenant, and to the blood of sprinkling that speaks better things than that of Abel. See that you refuse not him that speaks, for if they escape not who refused him that spake on earth, much more shall not we escape, if we turn away from him that speaketh from heaven, whose voice then shook the earth. But now he has promised, saying, Yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also heaven. And this word, yet once more, signifies the removing of those things that are shaken, as of things that are made, that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. Wherefore, we receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved, let us have grace, whereby we may serve Elohim acceptably with reverence and godly fear. For our Elohim is a consuming fire.
There's, once again, we have this situation of having reverence and godly fear. There is a certain amount of respect and honor that is supposed to go along with serving Yahweh, our Elohim. And Yahshua knew that those things were not always present, even though the people followed him. He said, some of you came just because you came for the natural bread, not for, he said, I'm the bread that came from heaven, but y'all came for the natural bread. He said, yeah, they just came to eat. Yahshua said that 2,000 years ago. Even though there was this great multitude of people, some people would just be happy. Look at how many people came. Yahshua said, man, a lot of these people ain't right. They need to get some stuff together in their heart. Well, he was asking the first time. He's not going to ask this time. Let's go to Romans chapter 12. So I don't think people understand what grace is. They think that grace period lasts forever. And that grace that everybody think they dancing and celebrating in, they're about to find that that grace period is about to end. Because this is all some people talk about. Grace, 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 grace. Never does occur to them that grace is almost at its end. Ain't no more grace when Yahshua show up. Ain't no more grace period. Ain't no more time to get yourself together. It's a done deal. All that you have not done, you ain't gonna do. People keep talking about my heart, he gonna make my heart right. You ain't working on your heart now, you're gonna have some problems. When it come time to take the test, ain't no, well, okay, so how you count again? It's too late now. You were supposed to figure that out before you got to the testing site. Ain't no figuring out how to add, subtract, and multiply and divide, and you got a math test in front of you. You're supposed to figure that out before you got there. Romans chapter 12, let's start that at verse 1.
You know, brother, I keep saying if people replace that word of grace and put probation there.
Now, see, probation we can understand. Because, see, most of us know probation. See, if they said, you know, saying you have a probationary period, we'd be like, oh, I understand that. I got a PO, I got an officer, I got a probation officer. Oh, we know that. You right about that, brother. We need to take all these Bibles, take out grace and put probation in it. That'll get our attention right there. See? Go ahead, brother.
I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Elohim, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto Elohim, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be you transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Elohim.
The mind that has a root of bitterness in it will not be renewed. See, a root is something that's deep down that sets the foundation for everything. You don't see the tree roots normally. You just see how big the tree is. But those roots go deep, real deep. And every now and then, if the soil get washed away, you'll see how thick and strong those roots are. See, something has to be wrong with the root for that tree to get uprooted. When it gets a lot of rain and it's real wet, the ground gets soggy, and the root don't have anything to hold on to, then you'll see the whole tree fall down whole. Roots and everything sticking up out the ground. But that root, it's been there a very long time. And how many problems do we allow the roots to cause? See, it's supposed to be a renewing of your mind. But if every time you get to the renewing of your mind part, here come one of them old roots that won't let you do it. So now you got to work around the renewing. And eventually it's going to become visible that everybody's being renewed except you. You're still in the same spot. Why? The same root. Every time you get to that root, you got to go around it. Because you won't keep that bitter root. Go ahead, brother.
No, I just wanted to say too, the root is where the feeding comes from.
Uh-huh.
So whatever you have inside of you that's rooted, you have to, be mindful of what you're being fed. That's where the feeding comes from.
Yeah, and sometimes, brother, you're being, fed from old things that, you know how that works. When we are young, you eat anything. You start getting older, you start paying attention. Wait a minute, that's high fructose corn syrup. What's that?
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute, I don't think I want to eat that. You said they do what? Oh yeah, that's diabetes in a cup. Oh no, absolutely not. I don't want that. Then you realize that you have to start feeding yourself something different, because that stuff that you can eat. And let me tell you something: as you get older, your body start telling on you too, because that stuff you used to be able to eat. Man, when I was young, boy, if you said Mac, I would sing Diners. All you had to say was the first part. Now, brother, if I eat that stuff, I can't go to the bathroom for a week and a half. I can't eat that stuff, right? I can't. My body knocked on say, hey, man, I don't know if you know it, but you old brother, man. You can't eat that. No, you need a real beef patty. That's not real. Yeah, man. Now it's a different song that comes. Somebody say, Mac. I said, bathroom. I can't go. I'm not going to touch that stuff. I negotiate with the kids. They be like, well, we want McDonald's. Look, can we go somewhere else? Look, let me talk to you. Just sit down. Let me rap to you for a minute. They be like, man, why you tripping, bro? We want to go to McDonald's. No, we don't. No, let's not go there. But I understand where they coming from. But see, you hadn't realized that ain't food yet when you're young. You don't know that. See? So this is where your roots was feeding. You was feeding from that McDonald's. Sooner or later, when you learn better, you do better. And you got to realize that those roots got to eat something better than that. Or it's going to be something wrong with that tree. That tree is going to suffer if you keep feeding it that mess. Now, that goes natural and that goes spiritual. Because we'll go out on the internet and listen to anybody with a webcam. Well, guess what? Your roots feeding off that. And people can say, well, it don't affect me. Then you come somewhere and we'll be sitting down and one of them roots of bitterness just jump right out of somebody's mouth. Hey, where you get that? Because I know we don't teach that right here. Who taught you that? Oh, that was that other website. Right. Leave that at your house. Don't bring that in here. Go ahead,
brother, back to what you guys are talking about. Even in the scripture, it says, let me dig around the root and dung it. So that means you're getting rid of that old dirt that's around there and putting fresh fertilizer around it.
I'm sorry, bro. What's dung?
Fertilizer.
No, bro. That don't sound right. I don't like that. I don't like that word. Let's go. Give me another one.
Oh, you want the crap?
There it is. See, let me dig around it and put some crap around it so that it might grow better. See, but the first time I like, you smell that? Yeah, that's you. What? Wait a minute. Why is all this crap around me? Because I need you to grow better. See? Something ain't happening right with your growth. So dig out around it. Give me some of that cow dung. The cow do twice. Do. Give me some of that. Put all of it around here. Let's see if you can grow better now. So if you look up one day and you just smell crap everywhere, he's trying to get more growth out of you. Go ahead, bro.
Romans chapter 12 and verse 3. For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think.
When you do, he said, well, look, this dung can't be around me. Because I mean, I'm college educated. This can't be my dung. I can't. It's got to be somebody else's. Right. Go ahead.
But to think soberly, according as Elohim has dealt to every man the measure of faith. For as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office, so we, being many, are one body in the Mashiach, and every one members one of another. Having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us, whether prophecy, let us prophesy according to the proportion of faith. Or ministry, let us wait on our ministering. Or he that teaches on teaching.
In other words, there are different gifts given in different parts of the body. And when we are either listening to somebody or receiving something from somebody, do you ever stop to consider if that person has the gift to do what that is they are attempting to do? When a person is trying to teach, do you have the gift of teaching? And if so, when did you get it? Because we'll listen to anybody who will talk. And we ain't considered, do you have the gift to do that? If a person has the gift of healing, I don't want to hear prophecy from that person. I'm coming to that person for healing. They know herbs, they know those things. That's what we want to, what my conversation with them is going to be like. And if I'm sick, why do I need to go to a person who only has the gift of teaching? I need to talk to the person who has the gift of healing. I need to talk to the person who knows about herbs. I need to talk to that person. Folks will come to me in a minute. Well, sir, I've been feeling such and such. What herbs do you think I ought to take? You're talking to the wrong individual. That's not what I do. You need to go talk to one of these herb people. There's several of them in here. I just ain't one of them. Go ahead.
Or he that exhorts on exhortation. He that gives, let him do it with simplicity. He that rules, with diligence. He that shows mercy, with cheerfulness. Let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil, cleave to that which is good.
If you abhor that which is evil, you hate that which is evil. See? But what we do is we turn a blind eye to certain parts of evil so we can still hang out with the evildoers. See? The evildoers say, yeah, man, hey, man, we're going to get together, man. We're going to go hang out. We're going to go to this crab bar, man. Then you just turn your ear off right when they say crab. But you still going to go with them and hang out. You say, well, I just ain't going to eat no crab. See, you're making it convenient for you to hang out with the people who do other things, except abhor that which is evil. So we won't even let it come out of our mouth. Hey, man, those the roaches of the sea, bro. You going to eat that? And now I can't go hang out with you while you go eat sea roaches. You know, you're going to have to do that with somebody else. See, I ride motorcycles. You know how many times them brothers come to me? The whole culture ride motorcycles. We'll ride 200 miles to go to one restaurant. Turn around and come back. Because we ain't really going to the restaurant. We just trying to ride. So we'll go anywhere. I'm like, hey, bro, I can't partake in that roach fest y'all about to have. So y'all go over there. I'm going to be down here. Let me know when y'all leave. Go ahead.
Verse 10. Be kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love, in honor preferring one another, not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Adonai, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer, distributing to the necessity of saints, given to hospitality. Bless them which persecute you, bless and curse not. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. Be of the same mind one to another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits.
Now, if we're going to be of the same mind one toward another, then that means that we're receiving the same information. But when we start to receive different forms of information, that means something else is feeding our roots. So when we get ready to deal with one another in fellowship, now we got a problem, because some roots were fed off one thing and other roots were fed off something else. And if you ain't careful, you'll mix those roots up. There's sometimes that you have to really get your head right and figure out, okay, where have I heard this before? Did I read that out of the Bible, or did I see that on TV? And sometimes those lines are crossed. Because, you know, I had to stop myself when they first taught us about the 3 wise men. You find out the book, they never tell you how many wise men it was. But every television show showed you 3. And you know that lie stick in your head? There's some people sitting there like, oh, it ain't 3. It ain't 3. You sure it ain't 3? They ready to argue. Why? Because we used to see that TV program every year. Every year that TV program came. And it was like, oh, go in your head again. Oh, go in your head again. And sooner or later, all them roots of misinformation is stuck. You know how many so-called biblically educated people you can walk up to and ask them, so how many a wise man was? And they go automatically say 3. Because that's the thing that has been fed to us over and over and over. They even fed us what they look like, which is another figment of somebody's imagination. But when you have been shown those things over and over and over, that is a root. And to some people, if they haven't understood anything else, that can then become a root of bitterness. Because when you start saying something other than that, they start to get angry with you. Now y'all in an altercation. Because they say they know that they must be right. Because they can hear it in their ears right now. That's because that same lie was told over and over and over and over. Go ahead.
Verse 17. Recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, as much as lies in you, live peaceably with all men.
Now, you need to highlight that verse right there. You need to highlight. You ain't got no highlighter, borrow somebody else. If it be possible, as much as lies in you, live peaceably with all men. There's some people that the only peace you're going to have is to get as far away from them as you possibly can. Because they are not peaceable people. You cannot be Look, it says, if it be possible. Think about the worst bully you ever went to school with. Could you have ever given them enough milk for them to stop beating up people? Could you have ever given them enough oranges, enough of, somebody's lunch? No, this is just what they did. And this is how they operate. They look for somebody to pounce on. And every day is a new victim. That's just who they were. You wasn't going to have peace with the bully. That's not a peaceful individual. Now, I have found one way to have peace with a bully. And it means you got to tear his hide up. Then what he does is, he finds a lesser individual to play with, is what happened. So he don't become peaceful. What happens is he just take his warlike attitude somewhere else. You didn't make him peaceful, okay? You just made him not want to fight. Like, man, if I fight this dude, I'm be fighting all night long. I beat him at 8 o'clock, I'm going to beat him at 9 o'clock, I'm going to beat him at 10 o'clock. There's some that you can lose a fight and make that fight so much hell that they don't even want to win tomorrow. I know, man, I don't want to fight that guy. he don't know when to fight over with. And let me fight somebody else. Right. But they still never gonna be peaceful. They just gonna find somebody else to fight. And you can't make a person peaceful if they have a root of bitterness inside of them. When you cook something wrong and you burn it, ain't no amount of sugar you can throw in there to try to make that meal right. When it got that burnt stank to it, you know, oh man, whew. People like, well, I can make this better. Let me sprinkle something in there. Boo-boo. Boo-boo, let me stop you right now, because all you finna do is lose some sugar. Because, boo-boo, that is just gonna smell like burnt sugar. All right? That's not gonna ever get better. That meal is ruined. Okay? So you can stop adding stuff to that thinking that you finna fix that meal. You can start over, because that one gone. Okay? Go ahead and charge that one to the game. Pull out your game credit card. Go ahead and swipe. Charge that one to the game. You are not getting that meal right there back. Go ahead.
You know, even in this verse here, it says as much as lies in you. So that's on an individual basis.
Yep.
Because my threshold and your threshold with the same person can be different.
Exactly. Because one person might have been dealing with that same individual for 10 years already. See, I noticed that with people that I know, that I've dealt with for a long time, my threshold got lower and lower. I can meet somebody tomorrow, and if they have some issues, me and that person, it's easier for me to work with that person because I have not had issues with that person. When you're dealing with somebody that you done grew up with, and y'all done had problems for 30, 40 years, oh man, threshold real low, because I already know what they're gonna do. I already know how they're gonna do it. I know how they're gonna bring it. I already know everything. So the threshold is the fuse short. When you done grew up with somebody, you already know. I already know what you're doing right now. See what you're doing? You stirring up that crap right now. See, and then you're gonna come back in an hour and say such and such. So we're gonna go ahead and stop this right now. Then other people come up. I can't believe you didn't even give them a chance. Then they think you being unfair. Now you don't know them like I know them. Okay? I know them. You don't. I know what mess finna come. Sometimes people start talking, and I just go and start getting me some tissue. You know what you doing? Because they ain't talking nothing but that mess. I'm going to have to wipe that right there. That ain't nothing but mess. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 19. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine. I will repay, says the Adonai.
Right. All you got to do is wait. All the people who starts doing they slickery and all of that, and they swear they getting away with something. Give it some time. Watch Yahweh take care of their business. Watch Yahweh take care of his business. But he gonna take care of his business on his time, not yours. Your time don't mean nothing. Go ahead.
Therefore, if your enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing, you shall heap coals of fire on his head. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good.
Right. This is why the word says, pray for those that despitefully use you. And let me tell you something. Yahweh will help out your despiteful users. Yahweh will give them something just so they will get the hell away from you. You realize that there's some people that's blessed, and their blessing don't even have nothing to do with them. Their blessing is so that they will get the hell away from you. You have a situation of Abraham and Lot. Yahweh didn't deal with Lot. Lot got blessed because he wanted him away from the next man. He ain't getting about him. He got a blessing. Here you go this land. Oh my goodness, you got so many herdmen and cattle. Y'all gonna have to separate. I be doggone. Look at that. Soon as he separate. All right, brother, now let's talk. Let's talk about this covenant. What? Oh, you ain't want to talk with my nephew here? No, because I don't like him. That's your family. You like him. I don't like him. I'm dealing with you. And I bless him so much that he has so much money and so much substance that he had to get away from you. And here it is. We keep going back and getting to people. And Yahweh keep trying to bless the people so they'll get the hell on. And we go back and get them. Give them back. Yahweh like, I done got rid of them twice. You keep going to get them. I'm trying to get them away from you. But here go us with our college-educated self. Because we know more than Yahweh. Yahweh don't know nothing. Yahweh keeps separating us. We go back and get them. Right. Go ahead, brother. Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 6.
Second Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 1. We then, as workers together with him, beseech you also that you receive not the grace of Elohim in vain. For he says, I have heard you in a time accepted, and in the day of salvation have I secured you. Behold, now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. Giving no offense in anything, that the ministry be not blamed, but in all things approving ourselves as the ministers of Elohim, in much patience, in afflictions, in necessities, in distresses, in stripes, in imprisonments, in tumults, in labors, in watchings, in fastings, by pureness, by knowledge, by long suffering, by kindness, by the Holy Spirit, by love unfeigned.
Now it says, verse 4, but in all things, verse 3, giving no offense in anything, that the ministry be not blamed. Understand, there are some with a root of bitterness that want the ministry to be blamed. And they're setting the ministry up to be blamed for whatever issue they have with you. They need to make it look a certain way. Go ahead.
By the word of truth, by the power of Elohim, by the armor of righteousness on the right hand and on the left.
And you got to know, as soon as something happens, you have to wonder why certain headlines show up the way that they show up. They will go past the person and automatically put out the ministry so that they can blame whatever altercation. Two people may get into an argument anyway. How many times you seen on a television show or the news, this just in, two Christians were arguing at the Walmart? You ever notice they'll never say that? But you notice if it's a Hebrew, one guy linked to Hebrew Israelites into an argument at the Walmart. More news at 11. Why? How is that news? But you never hear. There were two Christians in the parking lot. One slapped the other one and took the head wrap. You never hear that. Yet, the same brothers who out fight, let me tell you something. Both of the brothers can have on diamond crosses. They never say, two Christians were at the club. One says, get your hands out of my pocket. And he busts a cap on him. More news at 11. We never hear it. Why? Why? But let one of them be slightly linked to Hebrew teaching. All of a sudden, it is the headline. You know how many Christians shot at each other last night? How many of them did you hear on the news this morning? They don't tell you that those was Christians shooting at each other. They was screaming out God while they was shooting at each other. The one that was ducking was saying, oh, Jesus. But that didn't make it to the news. Isn't that amazing? Let you do something. Right. That the ministry be not blamed. Pay attention. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 8. By honor and dishonor, by evil report and good report, as deceivers and yet true, as unknown and yet well known, as dying, and, behold, we live, as chastened and not killed, as sorrowful, yet always rejoicing, as poor, yet making many rich, as having nothing, and yet possessing all things.
And that's one thing we do. We sure make this nation rich, and we don't even know it. If we was to stop buying stuff, this whole place will fall down. Go ahead.
O you Corinthians, our mouth is opened unto you. Our heart is enlarged. You are not straitened in us, but you are straitened in your own bowels. Now for a recompense in the same, I speak as unto my children. Be you also enlarged. Be you not unequally yoked together with unbelievers.
Right. Now, this is very difficult for us because we were not raised in this word. All right? So we could be in a relationship, then turn around and learn the word, and all of a sudden find out, oh, man, I'm unequally yoked. Because now you got a believer sitting in the bed, an unbeliever sitting in the bed next to you. Now what you going to do? But the word gives us instruction for that as well. Go ahead.
For what fellowship has righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion has light with darkness? And what concord has Elohim or the Mashiach with Belial? Or what part has he that believes with an infidel?
Uh-huh.
And what agreement has the temple of Elohim with idols?
Now, I've been to houses where one brother is, believer, and his wife is celebrating Christmas. I've been to several situations where it is a seriously unequally yoked situation as far as the belief goes, but we were not raised in this word. We are finding out our culture on the back end. But those who have not gotten in relationships need to consider that before they start looking at relationships. See, we sometimes provide a little false advertisement. See, we want to show the part of us. Then once they get involved, oh yeah, by the way, I'm Hebrew. What? What you say? What? See, at that point, we want to talk to them after they done signed the contract. Wait a minute. Something went right here. This is false advertisement. You presented one thing, and now you come to me telling me something else. Then we get upset when it don't work out. That person just felt like, you pulled out a whole slick little contract sheet that wasn't there. When they signed the contract, it had 2 pieces of paper. And they just look up one Thursday, and there's a 3rd piece of paper. Where does piece of paper come from? This don't look like a contract I signed. Who put this paper here? I brought that when you were asleep. Right. And you can't figure out why we having problems. Go ahead.
Verse 16. And what agreement has the temple of Elohim with idols? For you are the temple of the living Elohim. As Elohim had said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I'll be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Wherefore, come out from among them, and be you separate, says the Adonai, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. And I'll be a father unto you, and you shall be my sons and daughters, says the Adonai Elohim.
Now, and we can learn a lot from these things that were written unto the Corinthians, because they then are learning this word, but it is not a part of the culture that they have grown up with. So now they are then being asked to separate from those that have dealt with these idols. But they grew up in those idols as well. So they have to make a decision. Just like we have to make a decision. Let's go to chapter 7 and start that at verse 10. We're going to go to, that's 1 Corinthians, sorry. Appreciate that. 1 Corinthians chapter 7. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, and let's start that at verse 10.
Verse 10. And unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Adonai, let not the wife depart from her husband.
Right. Now, it says, if we deal with us coming into this culture, and we're coming to this in the middle of our lives at times, everybody ain't willing to make that change. So this is something that the Corinthians would have had to endure. Consider something. Why would an Israelite have to endure that? We were all raised in the same word. So when it comes time to deal with this, it helps us to learn this from some people who had to change in the middle of their life. See, this is why, certain books help for a reason. These people are brought to word. Corinth is in Greece. They didn't grow up in this culture. Israel did. So there's certain things that wouldn't be written to us. But lo and behold, this thing that's written to the Corinthians now fits us in the daughter of Babylon. Because now we're getting the word, but we didn't grow up in it. Yahweh's a genius. Go ahead.
But and if she depart, let her remain unmarried, or be reconciled to her husband, and let not the husband put away his wife.
Now, and these are things that we definitely did not grow up in. When you deal with how the church deals with things, it's just it's quite interesting, because today the church talks about being in the New Testament, but it actually deals with marriage and divorce like the Old Testament, which we'll get to. Go ahead.
But to the rest speak I, not the Adonai. If any brother has a wife that believes not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away.
Now, this is now giving us the situation of what was talked about in the chapter before about being unequally yoked. If this unbeliever be pleased to dwell with you, don't put them away. But if they're pleased to dwell with you, then that means it's going to be a certain amount of acceptance of this word. You can't make somebody else be in the word. You can't make somebody else walk. But they can leave you alone and let you walk. Go ahead.
And the woman which has an husband that believes not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband.
So, being that they were joined together as one has the ability to save the other. But not if that person is sabotaging the believer. You can't sabotage the believer and then turn around and be covered by the actions of the believer. That's like it ain't but one of y'all working. But you're going to mess with the one who going to work. But then Friday you won't get paid too. You sabotage me all week. Go ahead.
Else were your children unclean, but now are they holy. But if the unbelieving depart, let him depart.
If the unbelieving depart, let him depart. See? Now, Yahweh said he did not condone divorce. He does not allow for certain things. But there's also certain things. If the unbelieving depart, let him go. Go ahead.
A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases.
And when you deal with a bond is a covenant. So you have to consider, when we get off in this word doesn't openly even give the right of divorce to even dealing with women. That divorce was always put in the hand of the man. So a woman has to be very careful in how to deal with these things in the word. So you have to know these things and how to deal with them. Because see, our people were supposed to grow up in the word. Now you have situations where he's now having to explain what happens when you get the word in the middle of your life and the other person doesn't accept it. We weren't supposed to have to deal with that. But we find ourselves neck deep in this problem right now. Go ahead.
But Elohim has called us to peace.
He has called us to peace. Because let me tell you something. When you got a root of bitterness, and that's going on every day, that root of bitterness is going to turn into some other things. And remember the first part, that the ministry be not blamed. Something go down, first thing they're going to say, a Hebrew Israelite did something to his family. More news at 11. They love to say it. They might they might start that advertisement at 2 and run it all the way to 11. So everybody's sitting by the TV at 11. I want to hear what the Hebrew Israelite did. Because it's basically a commercial. And they run that commercial all day long. There are certain things that will happen and you'll see it one time on the news. And if you don't see it that one time, you'll never know it happened. One time. Then there's other things that they play over and over and over and over. And you get to the point of, why are we seeing this for the 8th time today? Now somebody decided that that was what needed to be shown. Go ahead.
You know, the question is, once he brings you the peace, what do you do with that peace that you now have? Do you serve him even more, or you start to serve yourself?
That's a very interesting question, brother. You know, it's the same thing about what happens when we get substance. Yahweh blesses us and gives us some substance. How many people will glorify Yahweh with that substance? Or when we see more substance, we just went out and bought more stuff. I got a raise, and I already got plans for that money. And I already bought stuff. Raise ain't showed up yet. They already at the dealership. What you doing? Well, if we do this right, the raise will get here tomorrow, and I should take this home tomorrow. What? Right. Go ahead.
For what knoweth you, O wife, whether you shall save your husband?
Uh-huh.
Or how knoweth you, O man, whether you shall save your wife?
So this power was given to either one of the spouses. This is not just given to the man. It's not just given to the woman. Each one has that ability. But if one is sabotaging the other, then you have now walked away from your covering. Remember this is not just something that's here in the New Testament. You have to consider the things that happened unto Job. He lost all his kids. He lost his cattle. He lost everything. You know what he did not lose? His wife. She was protected because Yahweh said you can do whatever you want to do to him, but you must save his life. Her life was automatically connected to his. She was automatically saved because the adversary couldn't kill Job. But you know what she did? Ask him, because of her own convenience, just curse Elohim and die. Her entire protection was based on him. But you got to think about it. You know, when you're thinking about yourself, she's looking at, I done lost my children. I done lost my this. I done lost this stuff. We was rich. Just came down, fire just came down, just burnt up. I don't know how many cattle. Man, we on Hebrew welfare. Look at that. So she upset. And she think about her current situation. And Yahweh let it all go down. And you have to wonder, what was Yahweh's purpose for dealing with Job? He didn't do anything wrong. But at the end of the day, Yahweh gave him all of that back. He had children again. He got money again. He got everything back. But you have to ask yourself, that was an aged woman. He gave him another woman that had him kids. That woman said, curse Elohim and die. Oh, maybe that was Yahweh's whole point. I need you to see what you got on the other side of you. Because you think she all that in a bag of chips. Let me show you what you got really beside you. And you ain't going to figure this out during good weather. Let me give y'all some storms. Because I'm about to show you what's sitting next to you. You think it's down with you like 4 flats. I'm about to show you. Trouble happened. She didn't just want him to die. She said, curse your God too. Oh no, see, this is where Yahweh gets implicated. Oh no, I need to show you what you're working with. Because you think she all that. She want me and you gone. Right. But none of that comes out until all the dung is put around that tree. Otherwise, he would have never known what kind of woman he really had. he would have never known that she was going to say, curse Elohim and you die. That trouble was beneficial to Job. Because now he know what he got on the side of it. Go ahead, bro.
That was it, verse 16.
All right, let's go to Matthew chapter 7.
And you know the sad thing about that is you curse Elohim and die. That's your physical and your spiritual death.
Exactly. You got to understand what kind of level his wife went on. Curse Elohim and die. Job sitting up here with sores and scabs all over him. She was like, oh my goodness, you used to be handsome. Look at this old ugly thing. You look nasty. Right. It's no longer convenient to be with you. A lot of people are with you because it is convenient for them to do so. Sometimes Yahweh need to bring some inconvenience in your life so they will go on about their business. But see, because we are creatures of habit, we still mourn the loss, not knowing the loss is the best thing that could ever happen to us. Because as the word says, the righteous are removed from a situation and the wicked put in their stead. That way the ruin comes upon the wicked. But let's say that's somebody we love. Then we look at somebody we in a relationship with, they left us. Go with somebody else, we upset. They done left me. Then the wickedness is revealed and all that stuff happened at somebody else's house. You don't even understand. He just blessed you. He just moved that wickedness out your house. But that ain't how we look at it. We just looking at it like we done lost something. Yeah, you lost some wickedness. Congratulations. Matthew chapter 7 and verse 15. What you got, bro?
You know, remember across the street from me years ago, and I was telling you about the neighbor that was across, him and his wife, and you know, everything was hush-hush the way they left, and he kind of departed, left her in the house while it was foreclosing and went to California. Got married again, eventually got into a situation with that wife, killed her and killed himself. And I know that one that he left behind was probably looking and say, that could have been me.
Yep. And you know, you have to wonder what she was thinking about when that relationship was over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, think about that could have been your life that was over. All you lost was a relationship. It's something altogether different to lose your life. Go ahead, brother.
Matthew chapter 7 and verse 15. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles?
You shall know them by their fruit. Never mind what comes out of people's mouth. Watch their doings and see what happens. Everybody that says, you know, they love Yahweh, they don't care about Yahweh. There are some that serve Yahweh, and then there are those that serve themselves of Yahweh. Go ahead.
Even so, every good tree brings forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree brings forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit.
Right. It's going to bring the kind of fruit that it is. When you notice nothing but evil, I don't care how good it looks. That is a corrupt tree. But what we'll do is we'll let the other senses convince us otherwise. See, we look at something, especially when we got some lust toward it. Oh no, that's nice right there. Everything you done seen done came from it has been completely evil. Yeah, but did you see it? My God, that is definitely a God. Did you see it? Yes, and I saw what proceeded from it too. Everything was evil. But the other senses will lie to you. Go ahead.
Every tree that brings not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore, by their fruits you shall know them.
So the tree is going to be profitable to Yahweh one way or the other. That tree is either going to bring forth fruit or it's going to provide fuel for the fire. Go ahead.
Not everyone that says unto me, Adonai, Adonai, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven. But he that does the will of my Father which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Adonai, Adonai, have we not prophesied in your name? And in your name have cast out devils? And in your name done many wonderful works?
Right. They say we've done all these great things. Go ahead.
And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you that work lawlessness.
I never knew you. Not I knew you at some time. I have never known you. You have to rattle that around in your head for a while. How is it that people can walk that long and Yahshua never knows them? Then that means they were unbelievers the whole time they were walking around claiming his name. You know how many unbelievers say Yahweh every day? Right. Let's go to Matthew chapter 12. Matthew chapter 12, and let's start that at verse 22. See, you can't let people fool you by their nice words. Because, see, them despiteful users, you'll find that once they don't need you no more, you ain't going to hear from them no way. That's how Yahweh bless you. Yahweh bless you by letting them get something. There's two ways to get rid of fake friends. Either loan them some money or them getting some money. Both of them will cause them to no longer call you. Okay? There's some friends I just wanted to get some money. Here go 100. You don't need nothing. You don't need. No, I don't need nothing. No, we'll take 200. Because they ain't going to want to pay it back. So when they don't want to pay it back, they're going to keep avoiding you. That's exactly what I need you to do. Keep avoiding me. Because every time you come around, my stress level increases. Matthew chapter 12, let's start that at verse 22.
Then was brought unto him one possessed with a devil, blind and dumb. And he healed him, insomuch that the blind and dumb both spake and saw. And all the people were amazed, and said, Is not this the son of David? But when the Pharisees heard it, they said, This fellow does not cast out devils, but by Beelzebub, the prince of the devils. And Yahshua knew their thoughts, and said unto them.
Now, he knew their thoughts. Verse 22, you have to look at what's happening here. Then was brought unto him one possessed with the devil, blind and dumb, and he healed him, insomuch that the blind and the dumb both spake and saw. And all the people were amazed and said, Is not this the son of David? Understand, when you talk about son of David, it's talking about a king. So now they're saying he is that spiritual king. Okay? But now you have, but when the Pharisees heard it, see now they have a root of bitterness. And the root of bitterness is what you will normally find in a situation. It is going to disrupt their positioning. See, they have a status. All right? Being Pharisees. They have high status. This guy coming with his miracles is causing a problem with our status. So there's a root of bitterness that is status connected. If we accept him, we drop down a level. It's funny how those roots of bitterness go. They can come from any direction. So now because this root of bitterness is connected to where they are status-wise, they can't receive anything he does. They can see him heal somebody. Won't receive it. They can see him walk on water. Won't believe it. The root of bitterness blocks everything. This is that thing why Yahshua would ask before he did a miracle, do you believe that I can do this? Why? Because that root of bitterness is going to block me. Go ahead.
Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand.
Every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Now, there's a certain division in a house whenever you have an unequally yoked situation. But when you got one actually warring against the other, as one of them is trying to walk in the word, now that's a totally different situation. That's a totally different situation. Now the division in that house is starting to now divide at the foundation. Go ahead.
And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself.
Uh-huh.
How shall then his kingdom stand? And if I by Beelzebub cast out devils, by whom do your children cast them out? Therefore they shall be your judges. But if I cast out devils by the Spirit of Elohim, then the kingdom of Elohim is come unto you.
Uh-huh.
Or else, how can you enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house? He that is not with me is against me, and he that gathers not with me scatters abroad.
Verse 29. Or else how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man? Then he will spoil his house. But if the strong man bind himself, you ain't got to bind him. See, some strong men are convinced to tie themselves up. Then the house gets spoiled. And when you look up who did all the binding, you did. You bound yourself. And nobody sneak in there and tie you up. When you look at Samson's downfall, whose was it? Oh man, that was his. Nobody had the power to bring him down. He gave them power to bring him down. He provided all the information. He provided everything. Go ahead.
Wherefore I say unto you, all manner of sin and blasphemy shall be forgiven unto men, but the blasphemy against the Holy Spirit shall not be forgiven unto men. And whosoever speaks a word against the Son of Man, it shall be forgiven him. But whosoever speaks against the Holy Spirit, it shall not be forgiven him, neither in this world, neither in the world to come. Either make the tree good, and his fruit good, or else make the tree corrupt, and make his fruit corrupt.
See, we want to have half good fruit, half corrupt fruit. No, that tree gonna have to make a decision. Either it's gonna have good fruit, or it's gonna have corrupt fruit. It ain't gonna have both. Go ahead.
For the tree is known by his fruit. O generation of vipers, how can you, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. A good man out of the good treasure of the heart brings forth good things, and an evil man out of the evil treasure brings forth evil things. But I say unto you, that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment.
Right. And we will get angry and let words fly. And it says, I say to you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give an account thereof. All them words gonna come back. And we're gonna have to answer for those. And if the only excuse we have, well, I was angry. Okay, that's it? That's the best you got for that? Go ahead.
For by your words you shall be justified, and by your words you shall be condemned.
Right. There's some punishments that Yahweh uttered, and it was by what came out of their own mouth. Since you said this, this is going to be your punishment. He let your own mouth do it. Now people don't know that when they run in their mouth. They run in their mouth, they beating on their chest, they doing whatever, they feeling any old kind of way. Only to find out, oh, he was letting you punish you by letting you talk. Now go ahead, keep talking. He said, all right, that word that you said, that's what I'm going to do to you. You thinking he had to figure out the punishment? No, he let you figure it out. Brother, read the things on the next graphic while we go to Deuteronomy chapter 24.
Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 19. It is better to dwell in the wilderness than with a contentious and an angry woman.
When you deal with a situation of a divided house, now you have, and a lot of times we see this, no, this goes with men too. See, you have this happening on both sides. You got a side where you have women that are in the word and their husband is not. And then they end up dealing with some issues. Then you have vice versa. Read the next one.
Proverbs 25 and verse 24. It is better to dwell in the corner of the housetop than with a brawling woman and in a wide house.
So it don't matter how nice the house is. If you got a brawling individual in there, whether it's male or female, it's hell in that house. It's hell in that house. When you say good morning and somebody like, well, what's so damn good about it? I can't even say good morning in here. Right. There's a root of bitterness in there. And that house is definitely divided. You can go ahead and schedule the fall. A divided house shall not stand. You put a date on it. Deuteronomy chapter 24, and let's read verses 1 through 4.
When a man has taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he has found some uncleanness in her.
Now, you have to consider what was happening during these times. The only thing they could even think of would be fornication. Or the woman has said, she has presented herself as a virgin, and she's not. This was punishable by death. See, people don't consider what we're working with here. And see, it's customary for people to tell you how many dates they done had with that curve number. See? This was punishable by death. See, I don't even think we think about that kind of thing. We'll call other stuff deception. We won't call this little funny sleep number deception. And this was the deception that would get you killed. You mess around and presented yourself as a virgin and you wasn't? Hey, it goes down. Go ahead.
Then let him write her a bill of divorcement and give it in her hand and send her out of his house. And when she's departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. And if the latter husband hate her and write her a bill of divorcement and gives it in her hand and sends her out of his house, or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife, her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife. After that she is defiled, for that is abomination before Yahweh. And you shall not cause the land to sin, which Yahweh your Elohim gives you for an inheritance.
So, when things are being dealt with out of order, it then causes the land to sin. It is deeper than what just happens with those particular individuals and their personal residence. See, there's a reason why an enormous amount of blood has to be shed in Israel. See, the land has been caused to sin by a whole lot of things. Healing has to start at the holy city and then go out to the rest of the earth. You have to consider how much sin has been done here and how we have operated. Let's go to Ephesians chapter 5. See, why this is such a big thing is Israel, the nation, started as Israel, a family, then blossomed into a nation. So when you consider the attack of the adversary, the devil, he's going to attack the very part of how we were built into a nation. That's the family. Ephesians chapter 5. And let's start that at verse 22.
Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands.
Now, this word in itself causes a problem. People don't like submit. I don't like that word. The word don't sound right. Now, this is something that we should have learned in Christendom. This is in the New Testament. How is it that we learn this as we get into the word on this side? This is something we should have grown up hearing. Yet we didn't. I remember being in a Christian wedding, and the person whose wedding I was in as a child said, take obey out of those vows. I don't like that word obey. And she was right, because she didn't obey nothing he said. And she was right to take it out of the vows, because she knew she wasn't going to do it. And they got divorced, because she wasn't going to obey. But hey, she let him know right off the rip, I'm not going to obey. So you can take those words out. Hey. Go ahead.
Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands, as unto the Adonai. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as the Mashiach is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. Therefore, as the church is subject unto the Mashiach, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything.
Right. So then there are things, as wives are making decisions about things, there's supposed to be some conversation had with their husbands. If you are to be subject unto your husbands and everything, then there's some conversations that's supposed to happen before you make lifelong decisions. Best brothers come home and find out their wife done bought a new car. Who car is this? Well, I bought this. I came home from work today and I said, you know what? I deserve a brand new Camry. Who the hell you talk to about this? What? What? I ain't talking about it. Made a decision. I ain't being subject to nothing. But we got to deal with this bill, though, as a family. But that decision was made as an individual. We got a problem. And you find when folks' feelings are involved, sometimes they add up the bill one way. Oh, I can make that payment. That payment is only $416. I can make that. Well, how much insurance? Oh, damn. I am gonna need insurance, ain't I? Wow. Wow. Read, bro.
Husbands, love your wives, even as the Mashiach also loved the church and gave himself for it, that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, that he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loves his wife loves himself.
Right. So that is supposed to be the love that we're supposed to have with one another. But if there's a root of bitterness there, it is now affecting how we love one another. And if they're hidden roots of bitterness, you then run into these bits of bitterness that you can't explain where they come from, why they are there, but you know that it's somewhere. You just can't figure out where it is. Because we hide roots of bitterness with smiles and fake hugs. That's what makes it so difficult to fix the issue. Because we keep hiding the root of bitterness. Go ahead.
For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, even as the Adonai the church. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh.
There's a reason getting you away from your father and mother is a separation that needs to happen so that those people can join together being one spiritually, so that their mindset can grow together. Go ahead.
This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning the Mashiach and the church. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband.
Once again, we see that word reverence again. Wait a minute. This was the same reverence that we was ran into about Yahweh, about the church, and now we find this reverence thing concerning the husband and how we're supposed to have our relationships at home. Let's go to Matthew chapter 5. So you can listen to people talk and tell that they don't reverence their spouse. Now, when a woman talk about her husband, yeah, him downstairs. Oh, that ain't reverence, boo-boo. That ain't reverence right there. Uh-oh, he here. Damn, his name he? Golly, that the best he got to he? Oh, there he go. Good God. All right, girl, I gotta go. He here. But we can't figure out why we're having other issues, though. See? Right. Matthew chapter 5, and let's read verses 29 through 32.
And if your right eye offend you, pluck it out and cast it from you.
Right. Now, you know you can't physically pluck your right eye, right? You know, because hey, we done had some very, very strange people flow through these doors. So I need to say that because I don't want to see nobody with the, you know, saying eye patch tomorrow.
Well, Sock read it in Scripture. I tried it, but it hurt like hell.
Of course it did. Because he wasn't talking literally, man. Do not go home and try to pull your eye out. This is a spiritual writing here. Your right hand or your right eye might be the very spouse that you have entered into covenant with. And you might have to lead them somewhere so you can attain unto your salvation. Go ahead, brother.
For if it is profitable for you that one of your members should perish, and not that your whole body should be cast into hell.
And I tell people, be very careful how you deal with this. You do not just up and deal with a situation like that. That all of this has to be entered in with prayer and supplication and fasting, all of that. But there come a time if you can't have no peace. And I ain't talking about some people just are automatically bitter. They just don't, they not gonna have no peace. I'm talking about some serious breaking up of your peace. You have to be able to worship your Elohim without fear. And sometimes you'll learn that separating yourself from somebody is the only thing that actually allows them to live. Because let me tell you something. If something keep bothering you and you're serving the Yahweh, Yahweh will do something to them people so that they can't bother you no more. You have to learn how to protect people from Yahweh, your Elohim. And sometimes the best thing to do is to get them people away from you. I've seen what happened when people decide that they're going to give me hell continuously. Yahweh showed them what hell is. And the next time I see them and they limping and can barely talk, and they don't mess with me no more.
Note to self, leave him the hell alone. Got it.
Got it? But you learn, okay, sometimes you got to protect them from Yahweh because they don't know your God. And when somebody hurt the apple of his eye, you don't understand. And let me tell you something. It's going to send you for a real mind screw when you're standing at somebody's hospital bed. And in your head is, okay, Yahweh, did I cause this? Oh, that one going to get you. Once that happened to you one time, you're going to learn. You need to go. You need to go. Because I don't want to be sitting at your hospital bed wondering if I'm the reason that you in this hospital bed because you kept messing with me and Yahweh did something to you. Once it happened to you a few times, you'll learn. Separate them people. Because what happened with Moses, Miriam, and Aaron? He didn't go run to Yahweh and say, they talking about me. Yahweh heard it and went right into dealing with it. You have to learn how to protect people from your God. He not playing. Go ahead.
And if your right hand offend you, cut it off and cast it from you. For it is profitable for you that one of your members should perish, and not that your whole body should be cast into hell.
Now, understand, this is not literal. Cutting your hand off. But understand something. You're going to get a new body, so you're going to get a new hand anyway. Read.
It has been said, whosoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writing of divorcement. But I say unto you, that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causes her to commit adultery.
Causes her to commit adultery because she's still married to the first guy. Okay, go ahead.
And whosoever shall marry her that is divorced commits adultery.
Right. You go back in the old time, they wouldn't marry you if you had already been married. See, that's long gone out the window these days. Eh? Long gone. Nobody even think about that no more. Them old folk used to say, no, that ain't your wife. That's somebody else's wife. She was married before you got here. Oh, they used to tell you that a lot, but back in them old days, like it wasn't nothing. We don't even consider anything like that. But you have to also consider there was a certain amount of reverence among the man that they couldn't think of. Why else would a man divorce a woman other than fornication? Surely she's respecting him in his house. That's not happening today. See, Lucifer has upset the balance. In certain situations, the woman made more money than the man. And now, the disrespect has turned upside down in a lot of houses. And all it takes is $2 more.
You made 1,000, I made 1,002. I guess I'm the man in here.
What?
I wear the pants in here. Now go in there and do them damn dishes.
Go ahead, bro.
That was it. You know, just to add to that, this whole tax thing will give you that thought process too. Because then you put yourself as head of the household. I made $2 more, so I am the head of the household.
Ooh, now y'all ain't never had that situation right there, bro. Say it'll put the woman as head of the household.
Whoever makes the most money can claim the head of the household.
Oh, now see, I ain't never had that situation. That's interesting right there, bro.
Isn't that how it goes? The person makes the most?
I don't know. I ain't never been in that situation. You know what I'm saying? Golly. See,
nope. Elder Brock saying no.
Whoever wear the tax pants, I don't know. I don't know who got tax pants. I don't know how that works.
Where you on, Matthew? 19?
Let's go to Matthew chapter 19. That'd be messed up if they ask you in the bed, who wear the tax pants in your family? What? Man, you tripping. Hey, but this day, the daughter of Babylon set their own rules. She don't care what she do. Matthew chapter 19, and we're going to read verses 1 through 9.
And it came to pass that when Yahshua had finished these things, he departed from Galilee and came into the coast of Judea beyond Jordan. And great multitudes followed him, and he healed them there. The Pharisees also came on to him, tempting him.
Right. See, that root of bitterness, they cannot accept healing. But they still come around. So you find that the bitter root people like to come around at gatherings. So they ain't going to come to learn nothing. But okay, y'all going to have a party? All right, well, I'll come there. You know, my bitterness won't show right away if it's a party. Go ahead.
And saying unto him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? And he answered and said unto them, have you not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they two shall be one flesh? Wherefore they are no more two, but one flesh. What therefore Elohim has joined together, let no man put asunder.
They
say unto him.
Now they're going to present their problem with the law. But the law says this. Go ahead.
Why did Moshe then command to give a writing of divorcement and put her away? He says unto them, Moshe, because of the hardness of your heart, suffered you to put away your wives. But from the beginning it was not so.
Moshe, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives. Because it's a situation of, at this point, being in peace. Go ahead, offer the bill of divorcement, but this was on the hardness, mostly, of the male. Now the hardness of the hearts have changed. Go ahead.
And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, commits adultery. And whoso marries her which is put away does commit adultery.
Whosoever marries her that has been divorced is committing adultery. Man, they won't go nowhere near this in the Christian church. But this is New Testament. See, if I was to read this and this was in the Old Testament, they would be throwing all kind of stuff at me. They avoid this right here. This New Testament. But you have to also take into consideration when you're dealing with this, there was a certain amount of reverence that it also says the wife was supposed to give her husband. So what if the woman does not fornicate? She just a complete bitter hellion. Dang. See, now you got to back up to the reverence part. Because when our people grew up, there was a culture. People learned how to treat one another. You learned. You watched your grandmama and your granddaddy and you watched how they dealt. There was a real gap after that. Because we didn't get to see people interact as a couple and how they were supposed to treat one another. There's a reason why we read in Isaiah 4 where it starts talking about, give us your name to take away our reproach. Why are there so many women that have to have reproach taken away? He said 7 women going to grab hold of 1 man. Why? We need you to take away our reproach. Well, where the hell did you get reproach from? And it's a problem if that is women in his word talking about they need somebody to take away their reproach. You sure as hell ain't supposed to have none. It ain't supposed to be coming from you. You supposed to be done work that out. Go ahead, bro.
That was it. You know, even when you talking about the reverence, when you talk about the grandparents' error and how much that changed, you can remember you go to your grandparents' house. Boy, don't sit there. That's your granddaddy's seat.
Yep.
But don't. That's your granddad. Don't. Nowadays, hey, ain't nothing belong to the daddy. You sit wherever you want to sit and do whatever you want to do.
Hey, bro, not only that, brother, the big piece of chicken was here. Hey, ain't nobody just go in there and grab that big piece of chicken. You understand what I'm talking about? Hey, you accidentally eat that big piece of chicken, somebody gonna get hoiked. You know not to get the big piece of chicken. Let me tell you something. Grown men, it could be granddaddy chicken. Another big, grown, muscular man come in. And he be like, wait a minute, that ain't Big Daddy chicken. That's where the little ones learn. Oh, wait a minute, we don't touch Big Daddy chicken? No, bro, that's Big Daddy chicken. You don't touch that? Oh, okay. Now, you got third generation that just learned something because he looking at this man like, this the strongest dude I know, and he won't touch the old man chicken. That's in that boy heart now. That little boy done learned something. He just watched 2 generations of instruction right there. So what you think happened when they don't watch that? Right. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 3.
First Peter chapter 3 and verse 1. Likewise, you wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives.
Right. So then the wife has the opportunity to then help her husband. So we have situations now where you have women who are in the word, but then they have spouses who are not. So we have that. If they be pleased to dwell with you, then don't put them away. Don't walk away. But pleased to dwell with you means that they're not going to try and hinder your walk in the word. You can't make anybody walk in the word. That has to be a decision that they have to make on their own. But if they're hindering your walk, oh, now we got a problem. Go ahead.
While they behold your chaste conversation, coupled with fear. Whose adorning, let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting the hair, and of wearing of gold, or of putting on of apparel.
Now, please don't take this out of context and think that women did not adorn themselves with plaiting of the hair and wearing of gold, and of course putting on apparel. You ain't just walk around naked. No, I'm gonna let God adorn me. You better put something on top of those. You can't be walking out here letting them things run all across the yard like that. Don't take this out of context. It is talking about adorning yourself with a acceptable spirit. Women always adorn themselves. When you start talking about the things of a woman's wedding and the stuff that they may have done for their wedding feast, oh man, they got dressed all the way up doing some of those things. So don't take this out of context. But what happens is, when we start dealing so much in the physical part, we forget to be good people. See? That's what ends up happening. Sometimes when we think we look good, we act a certain kind of way. See? You know, the walk is different when you put on, you know what I'm saying? You know, and I notice myself when I put on some of them Stacey Adams. Brother walk differently. And I'm talking about, them Stacey's make you walk different. And I'm talking about. Right. But don't forget what kind of person you are up under that. Okay? Go ahead.
But let it be the hidden man of the heart. In that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit.
This is the part that people forget. The meek and quiet spirit. Every time something going on, you can't learn that because you keep talking. See, we forget that part. We'll look at one part and then forget the meek and quiet spirit part. Go ahead.
Which is in the sight of Elohim of great price.
This is of inside of Elohim a greater price than any of that physical part that you could adorn yourself with. The meek and quiet spirit was the most attractive thing about you. No matter how many jewels you put on. Go ahead.
For after this manner in the old time the holy women also, who trusted in Elohim, adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands.
So the meek and quiet spirit was adorning themselves inwardly, instead of putting all their emphasis on the outward appearance, which is what we do. We'll be in the mirror 45 minutes. This is why we late. We was up 2 hours early and still get 45 minutes late. Why? Because we were looking at ourselves, you know, trying to get it just right, you know. He said the best thing was to adorn yourself being in subjection. For after this manner, in the old time, the holy women who trusted in Elohim, holy women, adorn themselves being in subjection unto their own husbands. So that was an attractive quality. Go ahead.
Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him master.
Calling him master, not Lord. They put Lord in here for 3 different things. But understand how she's addressing him. She's addressing him as he is the head of her house. This is how she adorned herself, not on the outward apparel thing. And you have to remind people as we're reading this is in the New Testament. Because people would love to throw this down and say, now, see, that's some old mess he talking about right there. See, that's that old bondage. See, there's no testament we're reading here. So if you don't believe in the old or the new, what testament do you believe in? You don't believe in no testament. Go ahead.
Whose daughters you are, as long as you do well and are not afraid with any amazement.
So then you have, even as Sarah, verse 6, obeyed Abraham, calling him master, whose daughters you are, as long as you do well. So then you have daughters of Sarah, and then you have daughters of Eve. Those are two totally different types of women. And don't think it's separated by one is loud and obnoxious. And understand now, Eve was very smooth in her going against what her husband said. Her husband told her what tree not to eat from. She overrode her husband by going and getting some information about somebody else. So you got daughters of Sarah and you got daughters of Eve. People get to pick which one of those they're going to be. Go ahead.
Likewise, you husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge.
All right. So now there is also some responsibility of the man and how he is going to deal with the situation. Go ahead.
Giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered.
Now, likewise, you husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel. You know in the beginning how the woman fell. So as a man is supposed to consider how and what information you keep letting flow onto her. We won't do that. You know the woman fell in the beginning talking to the serpent. Yet we'll see a woman on the internet full of snakes and keep letting them go. Hey, come off that damn site. That site causing this whole damn house problem. Every time you go there, you pick up some mess. But we don't do that. We let the mess come in and destroy the whole house. Then we got to rebuild the house over and over. At some point, you ought to be tired of rebuilding your house. How about stop letting it get knocked down? Then that building, you can actually add on some rooms. Instead of rebuilding the stuff that keep getting knocked down. Go ahead.
Finally, be you all of one mind, having compassion one of another.
Once again, if we're going to be of one mind, then we're learning in the same information pool. The roots are being fed from the same nutrients. If one root is in my yard and the other root is in my neighbor's yard, we got some issues. Because my neighbor feeding his ground with something different than what I'm feeding mine with. Now my tree got a schism in it. Go ahead.
Love as brethren, be pitiful, be courteous, not rendering evil for evil, or railing for railing, but contrariwise blessing, knowing that you are thereunto called, that you should inherit blessing. For he that will love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil, and his lips that they speak no guile. Let him eschew evil and do good. Let him seek peace and ensue it.
And the more peaceful our home life is, the easier it is for us to do this. See, when we are out, and we don't consider, man, the walls are thin. When we get to arguing and doing all kind of stuff, them people next door sitting there looking at you. Ain't they both be Hebrew? And get what they saying about your God. Oh, they can't be real. Go ahead, bro.
For the eyes of the Adonai are over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their prayers. But the face of the Adonai is against them that do evil. And who is he that will harm you, if you be followers of that which is good? But if you suffer for righteousness' sake, happy are you. And be not afraid of their terror, neither be troubled. But sanctify the Adonai Elohim in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asks you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear, having a good conscience, that, whereas they speak evil of you, as of evildoers, they may be ashamed that falsely accuse your good conversation in the Mashiach.
Now, that's going to take some time. Having a good conscience, that whereas they speak evil of you as of evildoers, they may be ashamed that falsely accuse your good conversation in the Mashiach. It's going to take a minute for them to become ashamed that falsely accuse you. That means Yahweh has to vindicate you. He has to bring some things to pass to show that all of those things which they said about you are not true. You got to wait on that, though. That ain't going to happen right away. Go ahead.
For it is better, if the will of Elohim be so, that you suffer for well-doing than for evil-doing.
All right, let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Matthew chapter 19. Let me go back to Matthew chapter 19. And let's start that at verse 27.
Then answered Cephas and said unto him, Behold, we have forsaken all, and followed you. What shall we have therefore?
Now, we have forsaken all and have followed you. You have to ask yourself, in this day and time, why would anybody have to forsake their house to walk in the word? It's because the other part of the house has decided that they ain't going to walk in it. And they're going to give you absolute hell as long as you are. I hate that anybody would have to make that decision. But there are some that are going to have to make that decision. Go ahead.
And Yahshua said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that you which have followed me, in the regeneration when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, you also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And everyone that has forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my name's sake.
Now understand, he's having to deal with these disciples. These guys have left all to follow him, and he's dealing with this situation. This should not even be so, but understand that some of them are going to have to pay a higher debt than others. And each situation we encounter is carefully crafted for that particular person. Go ahead.
Shall receive 100-fold, and shall inherit everlasting life.
But many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.